Hey, wake up. Wake up. It's time to do your AP. Hey guys, Nick the Tutor here with another awesome video. Today I'm going to be talking about the new format APs and how to take them. Watch to the end of this video so you can see all the strategies that I'm going to lay out, as some of them are really important to getting a 5. So if you want a 5, leave a comment below about what your study strategy is going to be, and definitely subscribe to my channel for more information like this for the future. Alright guys, so the APs have totally changed. We typically had a 3 to 4 hour long test with multiple choice and free response questions. Now this year we have a 45-minute test and we're only going to have free response and DBQ questions. So the game has totally changed. Now, there are positives and negatives to this. The students that were really strong at memorization are definitely not going to like missing out on those multiple choice questions, right? If you know your facts, you typically are going to get multiple choice questions correct. Now, the test is going to be more based on the synthesis of information. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go through a step-by-step breakdown of what the tests are going to be like now and how you can do well on them, right? Because that's all that matters. We want that 5, right? APs are graded on a scale from 1 to 5. Most colleges only accept 4s and 5s for college credit. So that's what we're shooting for, and that's what we're gonna try to do today. All right, so first things first, let's go over the new format in a little bit more detail. So as I said, multiple choice questions gone, right? Totally out of the test. Now we're looking at free response questions and DBQs. Now, if you don't know what those are, free response questions are longer format questions where you would probably type in an answer or you'd write out sentences, and DBQs are document-based questions where they give you a set of documents, typically like history exams, right? They give you some source documents and you have to write a thematic essay or some kind of essay at the end, synthesizing those documents and bringing them together to make some kind of argument. So the tests are going to be written. Now for math and science, they're also going to be free response questions, longer format questions. And for math, they're actually going to let you take a picture of your notes, of your worksheet. So you don't have to actually type in the math problems. They're going to give you a period of time to upload your answers. So the format of the exams is totally different, right? We're talking about an online AP. So instead of sitting in a classroom or a bunch of other students answering multiple choice questions, you could be sitting on your couch at home, relaxed with your notes. Now, I just said notes. Big fact about the new APs, totally open note. Just a quick plug, I'm dropping AP study guides on my website, so definitely check those out. I'll put the link to those in the description of this video. We've dropped, as the time of this video, 5 study guides for different APs that you can use to study for, obviously, and also during the test, as they're open note and it's totally legal as stated by College Board. Now, you definitely want to be prepared with your notes. I'm going to go a little bit into the preparation first. So like, how do we prepare for this test? So first step to prepare is you want to practice using DBQ'S and FRQ'S only, right? So you don't want to use multiple choice questions to prepare. It's just not going to be useful. You want to prepare using DBQ'S and FRQ'S, right? So that's number 1. Number 2 is you want to make sure that your notes are not too long. So the normal like 20 or 30 page study guide you might make for a final, maybe that's like a little bit longer than usual, but you want it to be shorter than that. You want something that's manageable. If you need to look something up during the test, you're not going to have a lot of time. Like I said, you only have 45 minutes to do all these tasks. So realistically, if your study guide is 35 pages long, there's no way that you're going to be able to find something in that amount of time. All right, so that's number 1. So study habit, right? We want to take practice FRQs and DBQs, which are all available online, and we want to make sure we have a manageable study guide. So now let's move into actually taking the test, right? The test dates are available online on the College Board website. I'll also put a link to that in the description of this video. But you definitely want to make sure you know when your test is going to be. You want to make sure that you're prepared for that day, that you're well rested, that you're not, staying up late. I know a lot of students' sleep schedules are getting off right now because of no school. You really want to make sure that you're on your game. That said, there's a real distinct strategy that applies to FRQs and DBQs that obviously does not apply to multiple choice questions. So I'll go into that next. Let's talk about reading the prompts, right? First things first is you have to read the prompts, read the questions, and understand them. The biggest mistake I see students make on DBQs and FRQs is they just simply don't answer the question that they're being asked, right? You have to answer the question they're giving you, right? That's number one fact, number one key to getting a 5 is answer the given question. A lot of students love to just flex, right? I'm just gonna flex and show you as much knowledge as I can, right? Spit out as many facts as I can, but they don't actually answer the question and they end up with a 2 or a 3 and wonder why. It's because you didn't answer the question, right? You have to answer the question. So number one is looking at what they've given you question-wise and making sure that you really discuss in your head, okay, what does this question mean? What do I need to do to answer it? And how can I create a very direct answer? Now, moving on to like direct answers, right? For, and most of this really applies to, history, literature, government, economics, stuff like that. You're gonna have to have written answers. So what you wanna do is make sure that you have a really strong thesis. So number 2 is extremely strong thesis. If you don't really create a strong thesis, the rest of your essay will collapse. So what you wanna do when you're writing a DBQ essay or answering FRQs is have a strong thesis to build the rest of your answer around, right? So then, okay, so I understand the question, I come up with my thesis, then what do? Well, here's where we separate the 5s from the 4s and the 3s. A lot of students will come up with a thesis, a lot of students will directly answer the question, but how do I get a 5? Well, if you look at the rubric that the College Board puts out about APs, it's not just about creating a thesis, but also about how you organize your work, how you present your arguments, how your analysis hits when the person reads it. Does this analysis really, add something to my understanding? Does it really make me think, right? You want to make sure that your analysis, your structure, and your organization are really strong. So how do we do that, right? We plan. So number 3 is you must plan out. You have to plan. So a lot of students make the mistake of just, shooting straight into writing. So I make my thesis and I'm just gonna write. That's not what you want to do, right? You want to plan out your paragraphs. You want to plan out which documents you're going to use. You want to plan out your answer, right? Because then your answer is going to be more organized, more coherent, and the person reading it is going to put in a lot less effort to understand it. Think about it, right? I'm the person grading APs, right? I have to read thousands and thousands of these APs. Do you think I want to try to dig through your answer to find what's important? Or do I want it to be presented to me very easily? Of course, we want it to be presented very easily. So the more organized essays present things extremely easily to students, and that's something that the reader will really appreciate and will reflect in your score. So you're probably asking, so how do I organize my essay? Well, what you want to do next is determine what's required of you. So for example, on a DBQ, you might be required to use a certain number of documents. If you're required to use a certain number of documents, you want to make sure you use that many documents. You want to plan that into your essay. So what you do is, you take the documents you're going to use and you plan them in paragraphs, usually body paragraphs, where you're going to explain yourself and you're going to draw on those documents as evidence. So that's another important piece of information, is like if you're using a DBQ a document to put into a DBQ essay, that you make sure that you have a plan for how you're going to use it. Obviously, without a plan, it's going to be very disorganized and you actually may forget to use a document, therefore not hitting one of the goals for the essay, which is use a certain number of documents. You could simply just forget. So planning out helps you not do that. So after you do that, you want to make sure to plan out what evidence you're going to use. So not only the documents, but also outside evidence, right? How can I fit in outside evidence between these documents or in this answer so that I can succeed and do well and explain myself? Using outside information is another important point to gain points on the APs, to push yourself above everyone else. So, where do I get this outside information from? That can come from a concise outline, obviously from your own personal knowledge, understanding the subject matter. And then you want to fit that in between your answers, between your documents, so that you can produce a very awesome and a high-level answer. What that also does is help you hit on the analysis points. So you can really analyze outside information compared to the documents or the questions being presented, and you can really engage in analysis. So what is analysis, right? Analysis goes into more than just describing facts. It goes into explaining how ideas and concepts connect. It goes beneath the surface so that the reader can understand not only the facts presented, but how they connect and how they explain something even deeper. Okay, so what else do I need to know for these FRQs and DBQs? You need to know that they're going to use a ton of terms of art. So terms of art are specific terms used in a certain subject, especially on the science FRQs, chemistry, biology. They're going to use a ton of terms of art. Those would be great things to include on a study guide or outline. Obviously, you probably want to memorize those, but if you can't, if you have a place to look them up quickly, you can probably compose a more coherent answer. So you definitely want to be able to understand terms of art. So I looked up a few of the DBQs and FRQs on some of the tests, and I want to share with you a few of the terms of art they used. So in an essay about India and society in India, this was on a history exam, they used megacity, pull factor, population density, urban infrastructure, environmental sustainability, economic development. They also used multinational state, devolution of a state, communication technology, centripetal force and centrifugal force, autonomous region, unitary state, right? So they use a ton of terms of art in these DBQs. And if you don't know what those mean, it's gonna be really hard to answer those questions. So what you want is a competent study guide that can help you, move through these questions in a coherent and intelligent manner. Okay, so a few other tips. When you're referring to something on an essay for a DBQ or an FRQ, you want to make sure you name what you're referring to. For a DBQ, you want to make sure that you write the number of the document that you're referencing when you reference it. You don't want to just mention the document because that could cause confusion. If you say document number 1 or document number 2, then the reader is going to know exactly what you're talking about and be able to assign you points, right? This is all point system. You want to make sure you get assigned the most points as you possibly can. All right, guys, so at the end of the day, the new AP format is really not that dissimilar from what we've had before. The questions are going to be very similar to the FRQs and DBQs that we're already used to. That said, the time frame is going to be extremely crunched. So I think, my final thoughts about what separates the 5s from the 4s on this specific round of APs is going to be simply time management, right? The students that are organized and have a plan going into the test are the ones that are going to succeed. What I would actually suggest doing is practicing essays, planning them out, writing outlines, writing notes, and actually keeping those with you for the test. So you have something to refer to for a format for your essay. And maybe even you'll get lucky. Maybe even you'll have the information for the question they're asking. What I would say is the 5 students this time around are going to be the students that are able to get the most done within the time. With only 45 minutes, and if you're separating that between 2 questions, around 25, 30 minutes per question at most, you're really not going to have enough time to sit there and shuffle through notes and dig deep in your mind and not know what you're doing, right? You're gonna have to be really confident in the material, you're gonna have the proper resources available, and you're gonna have to be prepared to write. I think that's really going to separate the 5s and 4s from the 3s and the 2s. So how do I achieve a 5 then? I think, like I said, planning things out, having readily usable notes that are going to be helpful, not, too onerous. And I think at the end of the day, being prepared to write a coherent and organized essay, that is what's going to separate you from someone else who's not prepared for the writing portion of the test or the response portion of the test. All right, thanks guys. I really appreciate you checking into this video. I had a fun time doing it, and I'm going to be releasing more information about the APs as time goes on. Leave a comment. Let me know, what AP you're studying for, what questions you have. We're happy to help. At the end of the day, I think this is a troubling time for all of us, and it's a difficult time for students. So the more prepared you are, the better you're going to do, and that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.